It's important, though, to reiterate, this is a massive game changer for search, and it will only get better, and we will see this generative AI snapshot more and more in our searches. We need to be communicating internally to all stakeholders at our companies if we're in-house, and to our clients if we are freelance or agency. We need to get the communication out, because the truth is not enough people know about it, and those that have heard are not doing searches themselves and are just based on hearsay or scary models. Hey everybody, this is Ari, CEO of Kahina, and I wanted to talk today a little bit about Google Search Generative Experiences, or SGE for short. Now, I think a lot of the folks in the SEO industry have heard about this. SEOs range from not saying a thing to their clients or stakeholders in-house to freaking out and, saying that the dooms is near and that SEO is over and you'll lose all your organic traffic. And the truth is somewhere in between, probably a bit closer to the let's not all freak out side of the equation. But it's really true that depending on your industry and depending on your specific set of sort of non-brand organic traffic and keywords that drive that, it really depends on how much this might affect you. I think the general consensus thus far has been that if SGE were to launch today, as it is in beta right now, that version is a little bit less aggressive and widespread as it may have seen from the initial beta that we got in the summer. So Google released this and announced this in May at Google I/O, and since then, for all those that are in the beta, which you can get in right now, it's shown some sort of decreasing significance in the SERP, right? And I'm going to show you that, and it'll illustrate that. And I think it's something that everybody needs to pay attention to. I think that, your organic traffic, regardless of your website, will probably drop or fluctuate significantly once it launches. But it's important to understand the nuance here and understand what industry you're in and so on. So why don't we dive in? So as I said, this launched in May, and the general idea is that a large portion of the SERP, imagine what is now a featured snippet, would completely look like sort of ChatGPT-like, a generative AI text response, which we call the snapshot, right? And in that snapshot, Google is giving credit to at least a few of the sites that help it generate that response. And so you have an opportunity to get a click through. And in the more recent version, you'll see that sometimes it'll have some drop downs. The truth is Google has been testing this for 6-7 months now in the wild on beta. So why don't we just do a few searches here just to get a sense of what this looks like. So I'm going to just take a sample of searches from e-commerce, from B2B, from local businesses. Why don't we try that right now? So we're going to pretend that we're shopping for sneakers, right? So let's take a look for a more specific term, sneakers for standing right now. Okay, so we see that we have, Google Shopping. We see that we have normal paid search ads and organic. And instead of automatically generating the response, it's allowing a user to opt in. We're not going to do that. But here, don't think on a term like this, where you just have the opt-in option, that you'd see, any loss in organic traffic. Getting more specific, best sneakers for standing all day. Okay, and here we finally have an auto-generated response. And when we do that, we can expand. That will give us a much more rich, SERP-wide shopping experience, as well as a bit of text and these sort of anchor points to link to other sites inside the snapshot, right? So this is massive. And you can imagine if this whole thing was auto expanded all the way, that would be quite significant. We're not seeing that anymore. What we're seeing is mostly a collapsed experience, but a little preview of the snapshot. Let's go for comfortable sneakers. Now, the other day when I did this, it was completely expanded, and here we don't see it. Let's look for something more specific, like Vans Old School, which are some cool sneakers. And as you see here, again, it's just giving you the option to opt in. So you'll see that a lot of terms here, only one of them produced an automatically triggered generated AI response, a snapshot, and it was collapsed. It was like a preview. It was not auto expanded. Let's look for backpacks now. Okay, here we go. We see an option to opt in. I'm going to say backpacks for hiking now. Let's see if I can retrigger this. Here we go. Backpacks for hiking long trails. And now finally on a very specific term, we're getting a preview, and it's collapsed. Now, if this was auto expanded with all of the shopping experience, multiple swipes down, I think this could be massively disruptive, right? So if this is what Google launches with, not the version that they're launching, right, that they're showing in beta, it could be very significant. I don't want to, downplay that. But just to kind of understand that for generic terms, we don't see even the automatically triggered, but for more specific terms, we're seeing it automatically triggered but collapsed. Let's go into some sort of B2C, but non-local terms like insurance, okay? Let's look for some car insurance. I don't see anything on generative AI. Let's look for small cars. Okay, getting more specific, nothing here. And let's try to go really generic on, and when I'm doing what is, I'm getting informational queries, then you start to see this term. So it kind of looks like a featured snippet, honestly, with a bit more expansion. And one could posit that Google is going to replace featured snippets with a generative AI response, allowing you to dig in deeper if that's the kind of result you want to go. Let's say we are taking a trip to New Orleans, again, just doing some more local stuff, things to do in New Orleans, option to generate, nothing there. Okay, so if you're in the local space, I wouldn't be too worried yet. Restaurants in New Orleans, nothing. Okay, I'm going to get really specific here. Date night ideas in French Quarter, New Orleans. And not only do we have what's been showing up a lot lately, which are these sort of Google informational widgets, vertical search items, right? But now we're getting a generative AI response that's automatically retriggered, but the snapshot expanded. If it was, you can imagine, again, just how overtaking it would be for the SERP, just how much your CTR could drop if, let's say, you're number 3 organically. So we do need to keep an eye on this. We need to see how this changes. If users tend to like this kind of experience, I imagine that it will get, more prominent. And so we do need to keep an eye on that. Moving over to B2B type terms, let's CRM software, for example. We've got our paid search ads, and this is auto expanded, right? So this is a SERP that I would be looking at and concerned about. And what's bizarre is these aren't necessarily the most popular real world platforms. And further, the terms that the sites that are featured in the snapshot don't necessarily feature on page 1 organically, right? So there isn't necessarily a correlation. In fact, I think there's been a couple studies that only 57% of links cited by SGE are on the first page of organic. It goes to show that there is some correlation, but there are sites that are completely not on page 1. So what I would say is, as you get more specific, let's try a couple more terms on B2B, project management software, right? You can see auto expanded. So it's very interesting. The other day, this was not auto expanded. So again, it's going to be very interesting to see what Google launches here. And what's annoying is, like, you would expect this to take you to some of these websites, but it actually just opens up the image, really half-baked. But here, you'd expect, okay, this will take me to the website, but no, it's just mentioning the websites that led to the mention of that brand, right? So kind of a poor user experience, if you ask me. Like, if I'm actually looking for a software, I'd want to do it. And again, in terms of real world, what are the best or most prominent project managers? Like, where is Monday here? Where is Asana? Where's ClickUp, right? So it's bizarre. I'm not sure they're going to launch as soon as people think, which is, let's say Q1 of this year. If they do, I'd be surprised if they launch this kind of auto expanded. Yeah, so I would say it's important to just realize that sometimes we're getting paid search ads above with shopping, and then additional organic shopping experience or additional browsing experiences in the snapshot. And that's why I think we are going to see, like we do now, a collapsed version, and they're going to test to see how often users really click on this experience. It's important, though, to reiterate, this is a massive game changer for search, and it will only get better. And we will see this generative AI snapshot more and more in our searches. We don't need to say that the sky is falling, but we do need to do an analysis. Look at your keywords in beta, understand where your organic traffic comes from. Try to figure out where your conversions or your revenue is coming from based on the landing page, and look at those top keywords in the beta, right, which you can all sign up for in Search Labs, and understand what are the terms and what is the risk based on this? Now, everyone's trying to do a model, and that's nice, and I think it can help you get a good guesstimate. The thing is, try to model out the CTR just based on what you just saw. It's near impossible, right? So I'm very wary of building an SGE model before it's launched based on beta, which changes every day, every week. And I think for now, we need to just look and see what are the types of terms that trigger the SGE snapshot at all. And of those, which of them are auto-expanded, which of them seem to be more of a risk from a CTR perspective. We need to be communicating internally to all stakeholders at our companies if we're in-house, and to our clients if we are a freelance or agency. We need to get the communication out, because the truth is not enough people know about it, and those that have heard are not doing searches themselves and are just based on hearsay or scary models. Yeah, so that's it. Wishing you all a great 2024, and hopefully it will be not as turbulent in the SERP space from an SEO perspective. Take care.